Howdy, guys. Attorney Walter Hnot. Now, it is super duper late Friday night. It's actually in about a couple of minutes going to be Saturday morning. But the bottom line is this: people asked me, and I honestly, people keep calling me and calling me. What do I do with this overpayment? How do I deal with this overpayment? What am I going to be doing about this overpayment? Well, this video is specifically for supplemental security income, and the question that we're going to be answering is, what is the ultimate power move when it comes to dealing with these overpayment situations? Howdy, Faithmore. Howdy, howdy. So, as you know, overpayments are when the Social Security Administration pays you too much money to your supplemental security benefits. So, your supplemental security income, money, basically, you paid too much of it and they want some back, right? So, they send you this notification: we overpaid you. We're not going to pay you this month, or you need to pay us back, or yada, yada, yada. You go through the process. You normally have the Indeed Faithmore. You caught me this time. So normally what you would have is essentially a situation where you would, file an appeal, 561-789 form, your intent to appeal, depending on your situation. And then also a 632 form, which would allow you to go ahead and try and waive or, erase the overpayment. Okay. So you're waiving a portion of it or erasing the entire thing in general. But people have been on me about overpayments and they keep asking. And so finally, I just kind of decided we were going to make this video. The ultimate power move that no one talks about at all when it comes to overpayments, something that we would use with the law firm with certain claimants when the overpayment was just mission impossible. We're talking, 70,000, 150,000. I've even seen $200,000 overpayments. The ultimate power move that you can do is essentially doing a bankruptcy. Now, some of you would say, well, I don't want to have to file for bankruptcy. And that's fine. I don't care what your agenda is. That's your thing, right? But for those who have essentially a totally bleeped situation when it comes to an overpayment, and the SSA is not budging, they don't want to go away from it. And this is also more so for SSI, but also including SSDI, which is traditional disability known as Social Security Disability Insurance. I'm going to read to you specifically from the program guide manual on what the SSA is required to do when you file for bankruptcy. Now, I'm not going to go into all the little things as to how bankruptcy works, when you should potentially file for bankruptcy. This is purely what the biggest nuclear bomb to essentially your overpayment would be. You can even use this on SSI to go ahead and basically wipe out many forms of debt, including credit card debt. So this is pretty much the most powerful maneuver you could do for essentially SSI. And I'll do a bigger video on specifically the other types of debt. Let me read to you exactly what happens, what the procedure is for when essentially you file for bankruptcy and how the SSA has to deal with that portion of that overpayment. The field office, FO, is notified of bankruptcy proceedings. You must take the following actions when you are notified of bankruptcy proceedings. This is straight from their program guide manual. If you receive a report of bankruptcy filing from a source other than the bankruptcy court, determine whether we are listed as a creditor. The effective date for stopping recovery efforts is the date the bankruptcy petition is filed in bankruptcy court. So what they're saying there is that date, that month that you go and file in bankruptcy court, right, that you begin the process, that's when they have to do these things that they're about to say. Cool. Howdy, guys. Howdy, Jane Doe, Anthony Brown, Joseph Newcomb. Howdy, howdy. Now, they have to, I'm going to read directly from it, stop all recovery efforts on all debts, overpayments, which occurred prior to the date the bankruptcy petition was filed. Okay. Stopping all recovery efforts includes stopping recovery efforts against an overpaid child or an overpaid eligible spouse, regardless of whether the child or spouse is listed as a debtor in the bankruptcy petition. So even your family members, if they have an overpayment against them, they've got to go ahead and stop any and all collection actions against them as well. Take the following actions to suspend the overpayment recovery. And by the way, if you guys want to follow along, you're just curious, this is from SI 0222, so there's 3 2s, 0.040 from the program's operational manual system, the POM. So again, that's SI 0222 0.040. Okay. For current pay cases, delete the recover by check adjustment DTAC decision through the add change delete overpayment decisions UODC screen. So that's using their program. They're basically doing basic coding to go ahead and pull recovery check functions. And now they're going to go ahead and switch it to basically a different function. Okay. Post a bankruptcy MS TAC decision through the overpayment decisions UOPD screen. Right. So now we're changing this recover by check adjustment to a posting of a bankruptcy adjustment. For non-pay cases, change the recover by installments. That's where you're paying by installments, right? In the GTAC system, or recover by check adjustment decision through the add change delete, right? So it's just a different form of how they would collect money from you, but they're still going to be changing this to essentially a bankruptcy situation. Now post a bankruptcy MS tag decision through the overpayment decisions UPOD screen. And then basically at this point, we now have completed our task of stopping payments. Now, they'll usually do this a month late because, they get notified. So then they go into the next part of this program guide manual where they explain specifically what they have to do with the month, where essentially, putting it simply, they still took away the funds, right? Refund the amount recovered in the month the bankruptcy petition was filed and for any subsequent months, right? So basically, the month that it was filed in bankruptcy court, they're not going to recover from in that month. They're not going to do that. They're going to recover that month and all months thereafter that are part of this bankruptcy procedure, okay? When the bankruptcy notice indicates that a proof of claim should not be filed, follow regional instructions, otherwise send the regional office, RO, a copy of the bankruptcy proceedings, attach the file. The file contains any documents that may provide useful information, system records relating to the bankruptcy. Current queries, SSID, SEQYs, new hires, HA04, CPMS, and the folders include but not limited to the SSICS, the MCS Appeals Review Processing System, and evidence portal. And remember, I'm reading to you directly from essentially their system. So what happens is, and then they go through some of the regional details. This is what the regional office will do. But the ultimate power move to fix debt, specifically on the SSI side of things, sorry, I'm a little bit tired, is essentially to file for bankruptcy. Now, when you want to file for bankruptcy, you have to do a large weighing option because, it screws up your credit. It essentially is a choice that you are only going to make if you are in a quasi-sustained situation where you're not expecting to have to go and get a car, where you're not expecting to have to go and use credit in some way, fashion, or form. And that's the weird thing about essentially bankruptcy is, when you go into that situation, you want to make sure that you are solid in the sense that you would not need to use credit going forward. Like you would have the basic resources of life to then endeavor into bankruptcy. All right. We've gone through this. I'm going to be doing another video shortly. I know I look super tired. I am super tired. I actually have to go from here out to go work on the house next door a little bit more, but I will catch you guys a little bit later. James Hutchinson said, may I ask a question? Absolutely. Go ahead and throw it up on the chat section real quick. And then we'll go ahead and go from there. Let's see. Can you see my text? Yes. So James Hutchinson, throw the question up really quickly and I'll go ahead and answer it, or I'll just answer it at the next video. So go ahead and type it up. I'll give you about 10, 15 seconds. The next video that we're going to be doing, just so you guys know, is essentially, let's see real quick. It's going to be, is a new wave of disability applicants coming? And I'm going to be going through the evidence and providing to you basically what I think is going to be happening, because that changes the overall timeline in your expectation of essentially, trying to obtain benefits. Like, will take longer to adjudicate the claim. And then also really important is that the amount of CDRs that they're going to be doing will be affected by them having the personnel to effectuate those CDRs. So let's see. James Hutchinson, Steelers Girl says above. What if they sent overpayment after SSI recipient died and you were power of attorney and you lose your power at the recipient's death and you ask a bank to remove you and IRS still sends money and get statement from bank? What if they sent overpayment after SSI? So are you asking, does the overpayment become waived? Or are you asking that you aren't attached to it as a power of attorney? I'm not sure what you're asking there, Steelers Girl. Yeah, walk me through what we're looking at. Now, as for James Hutchinson, you got to type the question because we got to pop to the next video. So Steelers Girl, give me a quick run through. What do you mean? And then we'll pop to the next video. Then the video we're going to be doing after that is basically one, how states could export SSI citizens, which is something I've been doing a little bit of studying on, and I think it's ultra relevant to essentially what's going to be happening in the future with SSI people. So I think that that's something that we really have to take a look at because it's going to define essentially where you live. I don't think a lot of people realize that in the future, SSI people, specifically supplemental security income individuals, are not going to be able to live in most high, cost states. Or if they do, they're going to be funneled to specific areas. It's kind of like the idea of ghettos and things like that, going back to, those timelines where basically people are pushed to a certain side of the tracks and stuff like that. Yes, we already have that, but there's going to be new levels of that occurring. Okay, so Steelers Girl, I'm not seeing the follow up. Do you think about HUD and how they change their amounts for rent? Okay, here we go. Steelers Girl, they keep sending my dead aunt's bank statements to my house, and IRS gave her SSI and COVID-19 money during pandemic, and they sent it to me. They keep sending my dead aunt's bank statements to my house. So what's the question though? Like, how's that? All right, catch up with me, Steelers Girl. Catch up with me at the next video, but just outline specifically what your legal question is because I'm not totally sure what you're asking after she died. That's fine. I mean, if they're notifying it doesn't, as a power of attorney, you can always reach out to the SSA and notify them that she's passed away, because, overpayments are a form of a debt due to the U.S. Treasury, but I'm not, help me out with more specifics. So, am I responsible? No, you're not going to be responsible for the debt of that person unless the estate has funds by which to draw to pay to the Treasury. But are you power of attorney in the sense of over, what happens with the estate, or are you just like power of attorney? You could like buy, sell stuff, yada, yada. So it's a little bit more complicated, but if you're, the one that's distributing the assets, then potentially, the SSA may want to reach out to you for recovery of those, buy, sell. Yeah. If you're just a buy, sell person and you're not in charge of the distribution of the assets, then you don't have the authority as a power of attorney to go ahead and, actually distribute her funds to, the debtors, which is what the SSA in this case is part of that situation. So, they're trying to collect essentially the money for the overpayment. Okay. So, anyways, and Steelers Girl, you can always respond to the SSA and say that you don't have proper power of attorney as the individual that handles the distribution of assets. All right, guys, I will catch you a little bit later. Catch me at the next video, and we'll go from there. It should be a good one. It's one actually I've been meaning to do for the past 3 or 4 days. And then we'll kind of go from there. All right. I'll catch you a little bit later. I'll catch you at the next video. All right, guys. Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.